The main challenge is media fragmentation, the fact that consumers use many more media and so at the same time. So it's going to be harder to find your audience. There's still going to be people watching television for sure, but there's so many more channels, so many more programs than the internet, mobile phones, so many other leisure activities out there that it's just harder to find your audience and really engage with them.
I think the growing prevalence of below-the-line marketing and one-to-one communication as a preferred, more credible vehicle to the consumer will be something we're going to focus very heavily on.
Brands here in South Africa need to think about the internet much more. The internet, not just as a medium that, as you know, in the last few years in Europe and the US, advertisers thought of as something they have to do in addition, but as a medium that can really help them with their lead generation, with their CRM, with their brand building goals. I think people get confused here about the fact that the broadband penetration or internet penetration is not that high yet. But for most brands who certainly target that affluent kind of higher LSM category consumers, that consumer is on there, and again, if he's not on there from home, he's on there from work. I believe a global study from 2 years ago shows that 50% of all employees spend an average of 4 hours a week surfing the web from work for personal reasons. For professional reasons, they use it even more. That's why BMW films in those days, 4 or 5 years ago in the US, was already so popular because people were basically accessing it from work. So I think the internet, using the internet to reach consumers for awareness, again, CRM, whatever kind of objective, it can really play a key role. It can support, I think, all of the other media, but it can play a role on its own. So I think that's, I do feel there's a lot of interest amongst advertisers to use it. And as it's not expensive, I really would recommend to them to take a few percentages of their budgets and really invest in it to figure that medium out. While it's getting more popular, this is the time to really do it.
I think over the next 12 months, or actually beyond 12 months into the foreseeable future, there'll be a greater focus by organizations looking to market FMCG products to consumers with CRM campaigns, database marketing, and one-to-one engagement.
I think digital media allow people to share easier, and as such, I think it's an important thing to use. Digital media overall becomes so much more important today. Audiences are fragmented. They watch still a lot of television. They see the billboards, they see print ads, but they're much more difficult to reach because they have so many channels to choose of, so many media to use. And as soon as internet hits a market, which it certainly is doing here in South Africa, internet becomes this whole other medium where people can not only get information and search for stuff, which they do in the early stages, but it becomes a source of leisure activity. So more and more, I think, media or traditional media around the world are putting their content online, their videos, their movies, their TV programs online. So you can sit at home and not, have DSTV not work, but can watch a whole, TV program just online, or when you're zapping around and you can't find anything, there's hundreds and thousands of choices on the internet, even for South Africans, because they're basically available on international websites. So the internet is just, I think in Europe, consumers now spend 20%, more than 20% of their time online, and that's an average around Europe and around, around different ages and categories of consumers. So specifically, if you're targeting young adults, the people between 18 and 34, which tends to be the preferred target audience of most of the brands out there, and then young women in that same age category, well, they're online and they're doing a lot of stuff, and they all got a mobile phone, certainly also here in South Africa, and it's hard to figure out how to use them, I think, the mobile phone for a brand, but knowing it's that medium has so much reach and so much personal impact, if you figure out how to be relevant on that medium, well, then it can just have tremendous value for your brand.